Imagine waking up on an ordinary day, the sun shining, the sea calm, tourists laughing, children playing on the sand. Now imagine that, just 15 minutes later, over 230,000 people simply ceased to exist. And the strangest part? This disaster could have been prevented. Warnings were ignored, signals were neglected, and nature demanded its price. But before I tell you exactly how all this happened and why thousands of people died without understanding what was coming, my name is Arthinox, my channel is Cloaked Mysteries, and here we reveal the stories the world tries to forget. December 26, 2004, 9 a.m. The Indian Ocean was calm. Families were having breakfast at luxury resorts, children played on the sand, fishermen prepared their NEMA bombs. The planet shook. Entire islands shifted meters from their positions. Days became microseconds shorter. Yet on the surface, silence. Tremors, buildings swaying, nothing to suggest the apocalypse forming deep beneath the waves. The true terror wasn't in the earthquake, it was in what it had just unleashed. When the plate shifted, trillions of liters of water were pushed upward, as if a giant hand had punched the ocean floor. These waves traveled at 500 miles per hour, invisible on the open sea. Ships felt nothing, yet the energy was there, waiting. And when they reached shallow waters, physics transformed them into monsters. Meanwhile, life continued as normal. 5-star resorts in Thailand, beaches in Sri Lanka, fishermen in India, children in Somalia. Some knew the risk but did nothing. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center in Hawaii detected the earthquake at 7:59 am, just 1 minute after the tremor. All the ingredients for an inevitable tsunami were there. But the Indian Ocean had no warning system. Nothing. At 9 a.m., Banda Aceh, northern Sumatra, was the first to be hit. A wall of water 30 to 100 feet high advanced at 37 miles per hour. Houses became matchsticks, cars turned into projectiles, trees ripped out like twigs. 170,000 lives lost in just 15 minutes. In Thailand, resorts full of tourists, families, honeymooners. The sea had retreated minutes before. Fish, coral, and boats were exposed. Curious onlookers went out to sea. Some guides tried to warn them, but many didn't understand. And then the wall of water came too fast. Screams, chaos, destruction. Some understood the signs and survived, defying the tragedy consuming everything around them. Tilly Smith, a 10-year-old British girl, was on Phuket Beach when the sea receded strangely. 2 weeks earlier, she had learned about tsunamis in geography class. The retreat of the water was the warning sign. She screamed, cried, and convinced her family and nearby tourists to climb to the upper floors of the hotel. Over 100 lives saved by a single lesson, a single moment of attention, and the courage of a child. The Moken, a nomadic sea tribe in Thailand and Myanmar, also survived thanks to knowledge passed down through generations. For them, tsunamis were waves that eat people. When they saw the sea withdraw, they acted without hesitation. The family gathered, climbed to high ground, and survived. Years of observation, tradition, and ancestral wisdom became the difference between life and death. But for every story of survival, there are thousands of tragedies. Rizal Ciputra, an Indonesian fisherman, was at sea when it all began. Hours later, he returned to find his village destroyed, his house and family gone. Desperate, he spent days searching through the debris. By sheer chance, he heard the cry of his 4-year-old daughter, trapped beneath a floating wooden door that had created an air pocket. 4 days later, without food or water, she was alive. A miracle amidst chaos. Arya Friesel, a 9-year-old boy, was ripped from his mother's arms and dragged for kilometers in whirlpools of debris. He hit trees, poles, and pieces of houses, spinning uncontrollably, but managed to cling to a piece of wood. He floated for hours until he was found stuck in a tree miles inland. He survived, but never saw his mother again. A Swedish tourist, diving 50 feet underwater when the wave passed, survived precisely because he was submerged. The safest place during a tsunami wasn't running, it was diving beneath the water. A cruel irony of nature, which chooses who lives or dies without mercy. These stories show that survival is not luck, it's knowledge, attention, instinct, and often pure human resilience. The tsunami wasn't just natural. It was amplified by human failure decisions, bureaucracy, and neglect. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center detected the earthquake and knew the tsunami was imminent. Magnitude 9.1, submarine epicenter, subduction zone, all signs were clear. The problem? There was no one to alert. The Indian Ocean had no buoys, sirens, protocols, or communication systems for such emergencies. Tsunamis were rare there. The last major wave occurred in 1883, more than a century before. Governments decided it wasn't worth spending millions on prevention. Thousands of lives were ignored due to cold, economic logic. If a full warning system had existed, it's estimated that 20 to 30 of the victims could have survived. Between 46,000 and 69,000 lives that could have been saved for 30 million, not billions, after the disaster. Scientists tried to alert local authorities, called embassies, sent emails to agencies. But protocols didn't exist, direct contacts didn't exist, and even if they did, would 15 minutes have been enough to save lives in Banda Aceh? 30 minutes for Thailand's beaches? Nature is relentless, but human negligence makes it even deadlier. Later, looking at the numbers, the cruel irony becomes clear too. Post-disaster chaos often kills as much as the disaster itself. The psychological trauma was immense. Millions of survivors with PTSD, children who couldn't approach the water, adults who couldn't sleep without nightmares of giant waves. Living near the sea became a challenge. The sound of the waves brought memories of absolute horror. And yet, life returned. Banda Aceh was rebuilt. Phuket and Sri Lanka welcomed tourists again. Memorials were erected, names engraved in stone, stories preserved. The 2004 tsunami reminds us that nature is indifferent, but humans are vulnerable. It wasn't punishment, it wasn't revenge. It was physics, pure physics, exposing human failures. Today, warning systems exist in the Indian Ocean. Buoys, sensors, sirens, protocols, training. An earthquake of this magnitude now would trigger alerts in minutes. But it took 230,000 lives for us to learn this. What does this tragedy teach us? That often we learn too late, and ignoring warning signs comes at an unimaginable cost. Still, human resilience shows that we can rebuild, survive, and remember. Because in the end, it's the stories of survival, loss, and resilience that endure. The 2004 tsunami was not just a natural catastrophe. It was a brutal shock to humanity, a reminder that no matter how powerful we think we are, we have no control over forces beyond our comprehension. Every life lost carries a unique story of interrupted dreams, shattered families, and erased communities. They are not just cold numbers, they are people who woke up that day unaware it would be their last. But there are also profound lessons: the power of knowledge, attention, and action. Tilly Smith, just 10 years old, saved over 100 lives because she was prepared. The Mokans survived through ancestral tradition and wisdom. Knowledge, whether modern or ancient, saves lives. Ignorance, neglect, and bureaucracy kill. Nature is impartial, but we decide how much suffering is inevitable. The tsunami reminds us that life is fragile, and every decision, every investment in prevention, every alert respected, can mean the difference between survival and death. It's also a reminder of the remarkable resilience of humanity. Even in the face of unimaginable loss, the world rebuilt. Devastated towns were razed, beaches regained their beauty, communities were restored, and memories preserved so we never forget. And hey, race, the most impactful truth: it's not nature that fails, it's us. We failed to listen, act, and prepare. But we are also capable of learning, rebuilding, and protecting what is most precious. It's a call to reflection. How attentive are we to the signs around us? How willing are we to invest in prevention before it's too late? Every disaster carries a chance to learn if we are willing to see it. If this story moved you, if you felt the weight of tragedy, the courage of those who survived, and the cost of negligence, don't let this lesson be forgotten. Share this video, comment your thoughts on what could have been done differently, and join the discussion on prevention and human responsibility. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because here you'll find stories that defy logic, explore the limits of nature, and showcase incredible human resilience. And more. If you want to keep diving into mysteries and events that shaped recent history, click on the video I made about the disappearance of Flight MH370, a case that still defies explanation and proves reality is sometimes stranger than fiction. Don't just watch, reflect, learn, and share. Because every story we know gives us the power to prevent, protect, and value life. After all, the difference between life and death often lies in paying attention, acting with courage, and never ignoring the signs. If not us, who? If not now, when?